Welcome to the Cheer Athlete. Today I have with me Christina Kilton, who is from Hawaii, and she's a registered dietitian. And we're going to talk about the challenges of getting enough food and how to overcome those obstacles. Christina is, as I said, I think I said from Hawaii, and she has been working as a dietitian for a long time. She has four kids and was a multi-sport athlete herself. She's a coach of gymnastics and she's very well versed in the nutrition aspect of this. And so I'm very excited to talk to you because I think nutrition is an area that we tend to brush off a lot. And I think especially for high school athletes, I think that's a very big challenge. So welcome to the podcast, Christina.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about how you got into being a dietitian and how that developed into working with athletes.
Gotcha. Well, as an athlete, I did multiple sports. My day started at like 5 in the morning and went till 9 at night. High school athlete, just going, going, going. By my senior year, I had racked up so many injuries that I couldn't continue doing sports. So finished up my senior year, and then that was that. And my gymnastics coach, actually, his wife was a dietitian, came and talked to us. And I kind of started putting two and two together that how I felt performing, nutrition played a part in that. So some days, you'd be glued to the floor because you didn't eat. And
Yeah.
some days you had all this energy and felt fantastic. So that's kind of what sparked my interest in nutrition. And so when I went to college, I took nutrition classes and decided that that was the route I wanted to go. With being a sports nutritionist or sports dietitian was always kind of my end goal. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Awesome. Did you change your diet and then that, or not, did you change your nutrition and that helped you to feel better? Like, did that actually end up working?
Um, so by the time I had figured out that I wasn't eating well enough, I was already in college, so already done competing. But I can tell now, like even 20 years later, the way I eat does affect how I do just, general athletics. So
So what kind of
definitely.
things do you like? What does having good nutrition mean? Like I have my perceptions.
Right.
So as just as a baseline, that kind of
Mhm.
covers good ground for all athletes. Is there, and we're not talking somebody that has allergies or other things going on, but just baseline nutrition. What makes a good diet?
Gotcha. Um, so the balance makes the good diet. Um, Social media and everybody out on the internet, it tells you, no carbs or all protein or this, that, and the other. But for athletes, you really need that combination of both, but you also need the color. So I talk about fruits and vegetables in terms of color because um, each color vegetable or fruit has a different role that it plays in your health. So making sure that you have a little bit of all of that. But the number one thing, especially for high school athletes, is that you get enough. So there's kind of, we talk about it like a hierarchy of nutrition, right? And the base is, are you getting enough? Right? A lot of times we're like, oh, I got to have this supplement so that I can recover better. I have to have, all the things that trainers and everybody tell you to have, but really your base is you got to have enough because if you don't have enough, all these other pieces aren't going to really work. So just having that balance between all the colors and the protein and the carbs. So
And so by colors, you mean like different fruits and vegetables and like greens and yellows and reds and purple and like
yeah,
being kind of finding a blend of
yeah.
that. So how do we know what's enough? Because you look at the calorie count that's in a thing, and it says 2,000 calories is the standard what the FDA recommends, or whoever makes that recommendation. But
Right.
does uh does everybody need 2,000 calories? And do some, well, I know that that's an average of everything, but how do you know if
Yeah.
that's enough or not enough?
Right. That's actually one of the most challenging parts of nutrition is determining how much people need. So, um, if we're talking about the high school athlete, we have energy needs for basic survival, then you have energy needs for growth, then energy needs for sport. So there's a lot of different things that will add up. Um, and it kind of every athlete is going to be a little bit different because they're going to burn that energy at practice slightly different. But generally, we make our calculations based on how tall you are, how old you are, what ideally what your lean body mass is, but that's hard to measure in a general population. But so those are kind of the things we take into consideration, and then we have to add on extra energy for the growth and the activity that's being done. So
So it
hard to
varies a
tell.
lot. Yeah.
It does vary a lot, yeah. Um, Generally, though, athletes are going to need more than 2,000 calories. So we can kind of
It,
start there and then go up.
yeah, I can, I know, like, through high school and most of college, I could just come home and eat like three peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and then, like, not my uniform would still, like, be falling off of me, and
Mhm.
that caught up to me when I slowed down after college, or actually even through college, and I had to start to pay attention to that, and the things shifted. Um,
Mhm.
so I can remember energy needs being, it just was, that also probably was because I was eating like ice cream at lunch, not eating,
Yeah.
or sugar, and, tater tots, something that wasn't necessarily well-rounded. And I want to get into eventually, like, how does one get to that many calories,
Mhm.
or what type, but, like, where was I going with that? So energy needs when you're an athlete are really high, and you do need to eat more, because you're burning through the day. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So what does it look like
yeah,
for an
yeah,
athlete in a
yeah, yeah.
day? So you got to eat breakfast. That's that's kind of, any opportunity to intake that energy is important because you don't always get to time things right when you're in school, right? So making sure you have breakfast, you've packed a couple snacks, um, you got to have that midday meal as well, and then dinner and potentially another snack. So it's going to feel like you're eating all the time. For my kids, they eat breakfast, they get a snack packed, they get lunch, they get second lunch, then they get dinner. So that's kind of what it looks like at my house. It's what I recommend to most of my athletes as well that I work with. So just any opportunity that you have to get that fuel and that energy in is important.
What does a good breakfast look like? Like Pop Tarts? I know the answer to that. And and chocolate milk, or what
Right.
what would be because I've trained myself to get up early to make breakfast, but I know when I was in high school, I was running out the door, at the last second.
Mhm.
And I don't remember if I ate breakfast or not in high school, which is really funny.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't think about it. Um,
Yeah.
but I wasn't like intentionally not having breakfast. It would have been a rush thing, and that my mom
Hmm.
was pretty good at encouraging us to eat breakfast. But
Yeah.
what would a good breakfast look like for kids that are having to run out the door?
Yeah. Having smoothies, like you can buy pre-made smoothies. Keep those in your fridge with some boiled eggs. Um, Breakfast sandwiches are also pretty easy and convenient. You can prep them on the weekend. Um, So like your egg wrap, right? Like egg, sausage, spinach, tomatoes, um, wrapped in a tortilla, right? Like you can prep that, freeze them, have pop them in the microwave for a minute, and and out the door you go. Chocolate milk's a great option in the morning. So,
Yes.
yogurt parfaits are a good one, easy to make. And just kind of things like that that have those balance. You can see they have color, they have the protein, they have the carbs, and they're easy, quick and easy. So,
Um, so do you not encourage, like the frozen, like a lot of the frozen, my
right.
father used to eat a lot of Jimmy Dean sandwiches because it was easy for him to take and throw in the microwave.
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
or do you have encourage people to make their own stuff?
I would I encourage you to make your own, but at the same time, are you going to? Right? So you have to look because when it boils down to it, it is how can you get in that breakfast, right? If you can't prep it or don't have access, then having some frozen options is okay. Generally, for your long-term health, making it yourself is going to be, in the long run, the better option. But it's really boils down to what's going to get you to
What's good?
get the food in your body.
And what happened? Well, so what happens if I don't like spinach, I don't like tomatoes. For me, it was I
Uh-huh.
don't like bananas, and like I can have a smoothie. I like most everything else, but I hate bananas.
Yeah.
But they put a banana in every smoothie. But so what if somebody doesn't like? So they don't like all kind like. And I have a
Right.
cousin that would only eat mac and cheese and chicken nuggets. So how like what if you have really picky eaters? Is there
Mhm.
do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, there are a whole lot of colors, whole lot of different things. So if you don't like spinach, but you like broccoli, or you don't, you know, maybe you like celery, but you don't like kale. Um, it's finding the color that you like, um, or the vegetable in that color that you like.
Yeah,
That there's options for everybody, and sometimes it's just experimenting and trying things made and prepared in a different way than you think. Because a lot of people are like, I don't like Brussels sprouts, but all they've had is the boiled frozen Brussels sprouts, right? And then you're like, well, how about let's get them fresh and let's roast them and let's add some seasonings. And then they're like, oh, those are actually really good. So sometimes it's just, hey, we got to experiment. We got to kind of look into it and go into the taste test with an open mind, and say, hey, we're trying something new. Um, and sometimes that picky, it can go a lot deeper with picky eating. So, um, you know, but a lot of times if you just try it a different way, it takes 21 times for you to taste a food before you actually know whether you like it or not. So sometimes you're just like, oh, I had it one way, I don't like it, I never want to taste it again, right?
yeah,
If you've tried it all the different ways and you still don't like it, great, move on. Try different food from that color. So,
that's some great
yeah.
advice. I like tomatoes. You could. There's so many different ways you can get tomato. Like taking a tomato and eating it off just eating it as is would not be my go-to. But you chop it up, put it on a salad, I'm okay with it. Or if it's in sauce, I'm okay with it. And especially if it's homemade sauce or in salsa, like and even ketchup. But I don't think I would count ketchup as a vegetable, but or fruit.
Yeah, I don't
But
count
yeah,
ketchup either.
right. Um, but there's lots of different ways that you could get that in there, and playing around with what does it feel, what's most palatable to you is good.
Yeah,
Other,
exactly.
I hear all the time people like in the smoothie, they'll have the banana and an apple and you know,
Hmm.
a mango, and then throw in some spinach, and then you have a blend of that in there. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
There's lots of ways to hide it in your
yeah,
food that you don't taste it. So
yeah.
it's,
And
again,
and again, like we said, it can be challenging, but if you can plan ahead and think about it, and every week kind of vary that can potentially make it a little easier when you're having to run out the door. So,
for sure. For sure.
do you? Uh, there's been a lot of buzz, and this is more for my own interest, about microbiome. Like I never used to hear microbiome and how you need the
Right.
probiotics and the prebiotics and all of that for gut health. Um,
Mhm.
my point being that getting the variety of foods in there uh, between all the colors, but the variety of even different grains and whatnot, that helps all of that and helps the digestion as a whole. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So yeah, the microbiome is new. Within the last 20 years, it was discovered what was going on, all the different bacterias that live in our gut that are not necessarily bad. We need a balance of both. And yeah, the bacteria, they feed on the fiber that we eat, so the colors and the grains. And if they don't, then they kind of eat the lining, and then we end up with all the gut issues, right? So yeah, just making sure that those colors, those good complex carbohydrates are in there somewhere for those bacteria to eat. Um, and then because the athletes are actually pretty susceptible because of the intensity of their workouts, and the duration actually makes athletes very susceptible to gut issues. So that's why we highly emphasize those colors along with the building blocks of the other groups. So
yeah, that makes complete sense. I didn't think of it that way. The struggling wise. Yeah.
yeah.
Let's talk. Um, well, I want to talk the carbs and that, but let's we've talked about breakfast. Some of the stuff that you mentioned sounds like they could be easy snack
Yep.
bites
Yep.
also. And then how about lunches? Any yeah, so
Yeah.
let's say, they're getting school lunch.
Hmm.
What would be the best options to pick if they had a yogurt for breakfast and fruit,
Right.
like um
Hmm.
are there best
So
options? I don't even know what they offer in school anymore.
I know. And they all offer different things. That's the fun thing. And in high school, generally, there's like a la carte art items and whatnot. So what they want to look at is that what does their overall plate look like when they're done with their choices, right? Do they have a serving of protein? Do they have a serving of carbohydrate? Do they have probably two or three servings of carbohydrate? And then do they have some color? And I know high school kids are like, color. I don't want to eat my fruits and
Yeah.
vegetables. But I mean, that can look like, just a piece of fruit. It can look like some juice, even. That's it's going to give them that energy. It's going to get in their system quickly, especially if they have practice within a couple hours. So I know it's hard because you don't know what their options are,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and a lot of times I know it's getting better, but school lunch may not actually have enough. So they may have to bring some extra snacks to supplement just the quantity and the amount of energy that they're getting from that school lunch. So,
Do you recommend any of the I say sports bars, but
mm,
protein bars and like Luna bars and that kind of stuff? Um,
right.
are the same,
That's
the
kind
same
of
as the
personal preference. And it's kind of like, what is it being used for, right? So you wouldn't want to eat the protein bar per se, like right before your practice or game, because that's just going to sit real heavy. But if you don't have time to eat after practice, having, a protein bar might be beneficial. So it's kind of personal preference and where they are on the changing of the
right.
nutrition, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like, hey, what are the things that you can do, right? But generally, I'm gonna say let's eat your whole foods, as opposed to grabbing a bar, but grabbing a bar is easy. Um, so yeah,
I,
there's
I
lots
think
of snack options that will do the same thing as one of those bars. So,
I think what I struggle Uh, so a lot of the athletes or the parents that listen to this are in an all-star program and they're
mhm,
traveling like an hour away to go to practice 2 or 3
for
nights a
sure.
week. And so they need to eat something before, because then they're that practice for 2 to 3 hours. Um,
Yeah.
but the things that they can take with them, either they want to have refrigerated, if they're leaving at 7
Right.
a.m. and they're going to be eating at 3 p.m.,
Hmm.
hopefully there's meals in between there, but just on the way to practice thing,
Yep.
try and get enough protein in at the same time as getting good carbs,
Yeah.
to be able to sustain that as well. I think
Right.
that's where, I'm like, well, you could do a Luna bar and an apple,
Yeah. Yep.
um,
Yeah. I recommend that every athlete has a really good lunchbox with ice packs. Um, thermoses. We have these and they're big. They're not like the little thermos soup containers that you used to have. They make big
yeah,
ones now. Um, we have those so that, you pack it up, it stays warm, you have your regular lunch, and that's when you eat your second lunch is on the way. Because you're gonna need, a pretty good meal. If it is within an hour or it's only a half-hour drive, then we generally want to make sure just the content is simple. It's not, this is where you don't want to load down with fiber, but it has that good combination of your protein and your carbs. So like this is where a yogurt parfait works really well because it's got lots of energy and it's got the simple, easy to digest. It's not going to sit in your tummy. Um, things like cheese and crackers, honestly, like work really well right there too. Um, and then shelf stable drinks like the shelf stable chocolate milk or those are also options that are whole food but easy to grab, right?
yeah.
So,
I like that
but yeah,
idea
you
of
just kind of little mini
babysitting.
meals right there.
Yeah. And then probably like a dinner that you're getting home, you want to refuel after practice and making
Yeah,
sure, like you said, what does the overall layout of your plate look like and really
right.
balancing that.
Hmm.
Is there,
Yeah.
are there, so you just said like pre-practice, if it's in within that half an hour, you don't want to have heavy food.
Hmm.
Is it, is there so post-practice, or is that the time to significantly fuel, or should the meals be pretty relatively even throughout the day and you just kind of do you change the plate around at the evening?
Right. Hmm. Ideally, they're pretty even. Breakfast, lunch, dinner are pretty even, and then the snacks fill in the extra. But a lot of times breakfast is going to be small because you're grabbing and going, right? So if you think about it, like I have a half a breakfast and then I have a second breakfast, then I have lunch, then I have my second lunch, and then I have dinner. That's kind of, instead of saying, oh, I need a snack here and a snack there, because sometimes we think snack and we go really little, right? Or we have a vegetable plate, or which there's nothing wrong with the vegetable plate, but that's not going to give you energy, right? It's going to give you lots of the nutrients, but so just kind of looking at it that way, like, am I eating a whole plate? If not, it's a mini meal and a mini meal, right? Um, and a lot of times right after practice, like depending on the intensity, it's gonna blunt your hunger. So you're not gonna feel super hungry, which makes it kind of hard, right? So then there's simple, like have a little snack on the way home, do what you need to do, shower, whatever, and then eat dinner. Can be helpful for people that just have that, I'm not hungry, I don't want to eat. So,
Right. Yeah, and I think I see that a lot. Kid coming in the clinic, oh no, I don't,
mhm,
either they've been to a pasta party, which is, and I'm realizing it's changing. It's not just pasta parties now, but
yeah,
the get together meals, um,
yeah,
and then they're either so bloated and they don't want to do any physical therapy, which I get, but or
right.
you know, um, so let's talk carbs.
Okay.
I've joked about this, I think, before on a podcast, and I don't mean to joke about it, but I had some digestive issues a while back and went to my doctor. I'm like, I think we need to check this out. And she's like, you probably just ate too many carbs, so stop eating carbs. And I was like, that's like, I know what she was talking about, but that wasn't actually the problem because I wasn't eating the carbs, just like potato chips and whatnot. But like, it's not
Mhm.
just flat out don't eat carbs. Like, we have to have carbohydrates in our lives. And you mentioned complex carbohydrates versus simple carbohydrates. When
Mhm.
can we make the case for either one of them? And why do we need to actually have carbs in our life?
Gotcha.
And what, like, the rainbow are carbohydrates. So how does that all blend?
Gotcha. Um, so yeah, complex carbohydrates, those are your ones that have the fiber with them, right? They are essential. They have nutrients that your body needs. Carbohydrates in general, your brain runs on carbs. So you need, and there's controversy as to the number of grams, but a minimum of 100 just for your brain, just so that you can think and talk and be clear in your head. Um, and then carbs are your primary fuel. So that's what your muscles use to, walk up and down the stairs or do your tumbling pass or, any of that stuff. So that's super important. Obviously, your body can use other systems, but they're not super efficient to produce that energy. So overall, complex carbohydrates are going to take longer to digest and get into your bloodstream. The simple carbohydrates, things like your white bread or your crackers, fruit, those kinds of things, those are going to be really fast to get into your system. So that's why we recommend those right before practice. And if your practice is longer than 2 hours, um, generally we want a little bit of a simple carb somewhere in the middle. So did that kind of answer?
Yeah. So you need to have the carbs for energy to fuel your brain, to let your brain function. So if you're getting brain
Yeah.
fog in the middle of the day, you might need something more in there.
Yeah.
And I think the go-to is like, let's grab a Starbucks on the way because I'm tired. But if we're
Right.
if we're paying attention to what we're eating and getting those complex carbs through the day, shouldn't that make that better
Yeah.
later in the day?
Yes.
Ideally.
A lot of people a
So
lot of
loaded.
people rely on Starbucks. It's false energy. It's just
Yeah.
caffeine
Yeah.
making your body feel like, woo.
Yeah.
But yeah, for that real true sustaining energy, it's got to be those complex carbs. So,
Um, and do you have uh do you have a recommended breakdown of like you should have this many? I know it varies and it depends on your level,
yeah.
but percentage wise, like
Mhm.
I've worked with personal trainers before that have been like a 40-40-30 plan. Um,
Mhm. So how I calculate that is just there's recommendations of grams of carbohydrate per kilogram body weight based on your sport. So generally, you're going to be looking at 8 to 10 grams of carbohydrate per day per kilogram of body weight. And then we kind of spread that out because you don't want to eat everything all at once, right? Your body has to have a little bit here and a little bit there. So that's generally for a cheerleader, high school cheerleader, going to be 8 to 10, depending how intense their practice is that day. Um, and then we fill in the protein and the fat to finish out the energy needs. So that's kind of our basic. So I guess you can do the math if you know if you know how many
right.
kilograms you are. So,
So kind of more even protein to fat and a little bit
um,
more of the
yeah. So generally, yeah, protein needs again are going to be based on, what activity you're doing. Generally athletes need more, like at least. And again, it's based on kilograms of body weight, which if we have the lean body mass makes it a lot easier, but generally 1.2 to 1.6 for a high school athlete. Um, so if, let me just real quick, say you're like 125 pounds, right? Um, so you would need roughly 70 to 90 grams of protein per day. Um, and then the fats are really easy to get because they're just kind of hanging out in
Hanging out.
everything.
Right.
So that's how we kind of tweak energy. So yeah, kind of go with those
And
base and then add in from there.
so strong base of complex carbohydrates, protein
Protein.
to really to help the lean muscle
Yeah.
mass and then help the
Yeah.
secondary energy, and then
Yeah.
healthy fats, and you don't necessarily
Yep.
have to add fat into something because your proteins and
Yeah. Yep.
healthy fats. So
Yep.
what are some examples, excuse me, um, so we've talked about yogurt, we've talked about the colors and the rainbow, um,
Uh-huh.
complex carbs with things like this. Well, this might be too much detail for this, but
Yeah.
oatmeal versus oat bran versus bulgur, which I would never have eaten as a, I won't eat it now, so I don't know how, you know, but
Right.
versus a multigrain bagel or or a wrap. Like, where do they
Mhm.
all fit as far as better quality? Because
Right.
sometimes, stop at a Dunkin' with a and having, if you're gonna have a multigrain bagel, have it with
Yeah.
an egg and some
Yeah.
turkey sausage, right? So you kind
Yeah.
of get all of that.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, in terms of, yeah, the type of grain that you prefer is based on your taste, right? Obviously we're gonna say multi-grain over the white when it comes to bread. Um, but some people have a harder time tolerating some of those heavier grains. Um, so oatmeal is a really easy one and it's a whole grain. Even I know it sounds funny, but even the instant oats, because all they've done is just kind of taken the oat and smashed it. They haven't removed any of the fiber from it. So, um, and then, things like quinoa are a little easier to digest. There's lots of different kinds of rice too. Um, so pick the one that you like the best.
Yes.
And then just trying to switch things up, right? Like if we eat the same thing every day in and out, you're missing stuff because there's such a wide variety of food. Um, but yeah, having like a a beef and barley soup is going to give you, some of those grains as well. Having quinoa tossed in with your salad, um,
Yeah.
you know, or just having like a quinoa stuffed sweet potato also is a great way to add in all that complex carbohydrate. So
Yeah, because quinoa has a lot of protein in it, and it's really quick and easy to make, and you can eat it cold with feta
yes.
cheese and tomato and cucumber, and that's it.
Yeah.
But now I'm hungry at that. Yeah. Uh, I
Yeah.
always forget about but it's an easy thing and to
Easy.
throw
Yeah.
together, and if you throw in like some shredded chicken or turkey,
Yep.
you can easily get
Yeah.
all of the other nutrients in.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people think it has to be like gourmet to be good and healthy, but no, fast and easy. Canned chicken is a staple at our house. Because it's really easy. Open a can, toss in
Yeah.
some flavor, toss in some veggies, put it in a wrap, right? Like
Yeah.
super quick and easy.
Super easy. And you could do that ahead of time. You can make a salad
Yep.
together ahead, with the chicken and the
Yep.
whatever veggies you're going to chop in, and then wrap
Yep.
it like at the last minute. That makes it pretty easy.
Yep.
Um, and that could go as your second lunch or your first lunch, make it
Yep.
to be able to carry if you get. Um, Now I'm thinking for my own. That's good. I think I really like the variety. Like I keep hearing that in my own world. And not
Mhm.
just in the vegetables, but in your whole grains and your proteins and so you are mixing it up and letting your body experience different things to help the gut improve and keep your energy going, because that's probably like the same as with balance. We talk balance in the diet, but like you need to challenge it. You need to throw things at it. If you're just standing around, if you want to gain and you want to get muscle and you want to change how you're
Mhm.
moving, you have to throw variety in there to be able to experience different aspects of it. And the same goes for diet as well. Yeah.
Yep,
Everything in life comes back to that. Well,
I know.
cool.
It really does.
Yeah. Um, so tell me what do you have going on? Like what are you working on right now? Are you
Yeah. What am I working on right now? I do a lot of individual one-on-one with athletes right now. I'm trying to put together a program for the parents. So trying to put together a course for parents because we know that you're the ones that are making the food right now when they're in high school. And then I also am working on a program for the athletes themselves. Typically that's going to be college age because they're going to be the ones, kind of paying for that themselves.
yeah.
So those are kind of in the works. But right now, one-on-one. And the good thing is if you have certain insurance, it can cover our sessions. So um, if not, or if you live in a state that I'm not allowed to take
Yeah.
insurance, then there's the pay out of pocket option as well. But yeah, so
So
just
do you do a lot of online counseling, online coaching?
yeah. Yes, it's all yeah, I'm a virtual practice, so it's all through basically through Zoom, and we meet together and get the one-on-one is great because it gets really individualized. The group classes are great for let's get some basic, information out there and getting some good habits formed. But the one-on-one really gets you where you need to go a lot faster.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
what
yeah.
does a one-on-one session look like? Like you said, you get
So
individualized.
yeah, so we meet, we kind of go through, what your goals are, where you want to go. Maybe if you have an injury or whatever, we can really, focus on that. But we really just take and you get individual, like I was saying, it's a lot of this is really individual. So we take where you are, and we look at what you're currently doing and we just make some tweaks here and there. And then you have somebody to be accountable to, right? Like when you're um trying to make change, trying to do
Right.
that, it's always like helpful to have somebody like your own personal cheerleader, right? Like
Yeah.
encouraging you on the way. So we meet every other week and then we have like a text check-in on those opposite um weeks and we just go through and make those tweaks and get you where you need to go, generally within 2 to 3 months. So
What you touched on this in the beginning. Uh if someone is how would you tweak it if somebody's recovering from an injury, as
mhm,
opposed to someone that's in the thick of it doing well? Like besides
mhm,
just the energy factor, are there things that
mhm.
you add in
There
or
are.
subtract or
Mhm.
um
Yeah, depending on the type of injury, there's a lot of different protocols that we have in place. Um, so like there's certain like if you have a concussion, there's, the omega-3s and the fatty acids are super important for your brain to heal. Um, like sprained ankles or stress fractures, right? Like there's different nutrition components that we really focus in on and get you going.
that I need to learn more about that, and this is where you and I will talk a lot more as
Yes.
time goes forward. Um,
Yes.
because we really rarely touch on nutrition unless somebody's bringing it up and like, what do I need to do? And
Mhm.
usually, not usually the high school athletes that are doing it, it's usually the parent, not even the parents, but my
Right.
older clients that are looking for how do I lose weight or if they're coming in really low energy. But I think that's a huge piece, and especially recovering from an injury, like making sure, getting the different nutrients in. plays a long role in healing and letting things kind of promoting the healing process. So along with the exercise, making sure that I think that's huge.
Yeah.
So keep talking that. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you think people should know about nutrition and a high school athlete?
Mm. Oh, so
It's a
many
lot.
things.
It's
Where
open
to
and
start? I know. Um, Another just something else that I really focus in on is that a lot of times, especially cheer and gymnasts and swimmers and all these where your body is out there, right? You're being looked at, you're being judged, everybody can see all of you. It's really important to understand that what you eat plays a part in what you look like, but it's different than what you find on social media and what you hear about all the time. Because your body, a lot of times we're like, oh, we have to cut back. We have to cut back because I can't get big, right? However, that was my problem. And that ended in injuries. Like if you don't have enough, your body starts breaking down. And so I would just encourage everybody to make sure, that bottom of the pyramid, right? Don't be afraid to eat. Make it not something like that you're being made fun of, right? I know a lot of girls are so afraid to eat in front of other people because they feel like they're going to get judged. But just remember, like, I gotta eat this so that I can keep going. And your body is really good at that balance to keep you from gaining unnecessary weight, right? So don't be afraid of food. It's your friend and it's what's going to help you reach your goals and get you to the next level that you want to go to. So,
food is fuel. It keeps you, yeah,
sure.
yep. That's a great message, and it's definitely prevalent. And I think there's we could do this again and dive a little bit more into the
Oh,
reds,
for sure.
um,
Oh, yeah. There's so much
because
there.
I think that's a huge um, piece that's growing now. And now that I'm postmenopausal, I'm hearing more about all the stuff that I should have been doing as a
Right.
college athlete to protect my body, and I think that comes
Mhm.
and a lot of it comes down to nutrition, and
Yeah.
uh, and getting quality nutrition and spreading it out through the day so that you're fueling your body through the day and you're not just
Yeah.
binge eating a pizza at 2 a.m. And
Right.
trying to get
Yeah.
in calories. So uh,
Hmm.
I love all this message. I think it's great, and sounds like you're doing amazing things. And I can't wait to hear, how your the parents program goes. And I think whether you're a high school or a college athlete, like learning this information and learning how to cook and care, like learn it in high
Yeah.
school so that when you get to college, it's a no-brainer, and that you can
Yes.
continue on and just keep growing with that as you go forward.
Yes.
Plus, you help
For
your
sure.
parents out. That's a good thing too.
Hmm.
So, how
Yep.
can people reach you, and if they want to get in touch with you or follow you, how can they do that?
Gotcha. So my website that's coming up, it's still being worked on, but it's highenergynutrition.com. You can email me at highenergyrd at gmail.com. Those are probably the best ways to get a hold of me. Um, but yeah, or you can just Google Christina Kilton and I'll show up. So
That's a good deal.
yeah.
Well, awesome. I'll put all those links in the show notes, and let's definitely let's plan another time and
Yeah,
talk more and keep this conversation going because I think it's really important. And it was great. I learned a lot today. So thank you so much for joining me today.
you're
And thanks
welcome.
everybody for listening today. Don't forget, when in doubt, breathe it out. Take life one step at a time. You can do anything that you put your mind to. And as my friend Drew Kelleher said, you're responsible for your own vibes. So go get the day. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope you check out Christina's stuff in the show notes. She's got a great guide for breakfast, and I'm sure it's going to help you. In the show notes, you can also find access to my free guides. I have a core series, which is really good for flyers and for athletes who are looking to improve their balance. And there are free webinars as well as a current masterclass that I'm hosting. It's going to be up there live. You'll have full access for life. If you can sign up for the webinar on balance, you actually get a huge discount on the masterclass for the ankle, and we'll dive more into balance in that as well. So if you're interested in improving, if you want to know more about your ankle, and ankle injuries and how to prevent them, and how your ankle connects with your hip and your core, and why that's important to work on to strengthen, then check out the ankle masterclass. But first, check out the free balance webinar and get your deep discount. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you noticed, I had a little cold, and I apologize for any audio or weird sounding stuff. But such is life, and um, I'm going to get my nutrition back in check and start getting healthy again. So I encourage you to do the same. Boost your immune system, stay healthy, keep moving, and keep going. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.